everyone. Welcome to your newest episode of the Cosmic Matrix podcast with your host, myself, Laura Matsu, and my husband, Bernhard Gunther. And on this episode, we are going to talk about the AI, transhumanism, occult trap, and the way out. So this episode is going to be partially inspired by an article that Bernhard posted on veilofreality.com, his website of the same title. He also made a YouTube video about it recently as well. So basically, in the first hour of this podcast, we're going to talk about how technology has really taken over our lives, and we're seeing a rise in AI everything. We saw AI filters come out recently. I posted a video on my social media about these new AI filters that were showing up on TikTok, the rise of ChatGPT. We've seen other AI technologies coming to the forefront, and how this maybe potentially relates to a loss of creativity for humanity. We also want to make sure that people know right off the bat, we're going to say it many times, we are not anti-AI. This issue is not black and white. We use AI all the time, anytime we're using social media. What we're trying to bring to attention on this podcast is how can we use it consciously rather than have it use us? And we have some ideas about that. So we're going to talk about what transhumanism is and how it relates to AI. We're going to talk about the importance of learning how to use technology consciously, especially as we enter into Pluto and Aquarius. This is coming up very soon. And we're going to talk about how the AI transhumanism trend, I guess you could say, relates to the negative sides of Aquarius and what the cure for that, which you see in the opposite side, which is a Leo archetype. We're also going to share some personal experiences that we had with this, Leo Aquarius axis with our own lives so that people can kind of see how it works. And we're going to talk about the necessity for soul embodiment and the necessity for psycho-spiritual self-work and the individuation process. And for those who are new to our podcast, we always do a second hour where we go much deeper into the topics that we talked about in the first hour. And on the second hour of this podcast, we're going to talk about the more hyperdimensional perspective, how AI transhumanism relates to removal of the soul and our spiritual development, and how it relates to consciousness, soul harvesting, body snatching, and how really it does tie into the alien agenda, which is not going to be some UFO in the sky, but is going to happen through our own bodies. And then we're going to talk about what does it mean to be creative? How can we connect deeper to our creativity, and discuss some of Carl Jung's theories about that. So if you want to hear all of our second hours to our podcast, which gives you access to basically 100 plus hours of the second hour of every podcast, you can go to www.veilofreality.com and click on membership and become a member, and you'll get access to all of those. And before we get into it, we do have a quick announcement. The April round of Embodied Soul Awakening is about 70% full as of the day of recording. That will probably go up in the next few days because we have quite a few calls booked with people. So for those who are new to our podcast, Bernhard and I are both psycho-spiritual coaches, and we run a 14-week online group coaching program in psychological and spiritual self-work, which we host ourselves with weekly calls, different psychological and spiritual practices, and different teachings on various different topics that we discuss on the podcast. So if you want to learn more and apply, just go to thetimeoftransition.com. And I'm actually really excited about this round because I realized this is going to take place while Pluto dips into Aquarius for the first time. So we're going to be experiencing a very different energy. And as we're going to discuss later, Pluto will only dip into Aquarius for, I think it's about a couple months about that. And then it's going to go back into Capricorn. So this is going to be our first program doing while Pluto is in Aquarius, which is a very different energy to engage in this kind of work. So that's really exciting. And if you want to join us, just go to thetimeoftransition.com. Sorry.
Excellent. Great introduction. So a lot to talk about. It's definitely a big topic, as Laura mentioned. I have written an article about it of the same title. The AI Transhumanism Occult Trap and the Way Out. Occult in this context meaning hidden. and also a YouTube video, so you can check that out as well. But we want to go deeper and go even add some things and share our own personal experiences with all of that. So, technology literally has taken over our lives in every aspect of our lives. I really want to emphasize that because it's nothing that just starts now. We just see now, all of a sudden the introduction of a lot of new AI technology, right? And it also ties globally with the Great Reset and all of that. Everything is becoming more technologically enhanced, and it ties totally into Pluto in Aquarius, obviously, right? But it didn't start just today or yesterday. I mean, everybody at this point, I would say even everybody who's listening to our podcast here, I'm sure you have a smartphone, an iPhone, an Android, whatever it may be, that definitely most people are more or less dependent on, not only because of their dopamine hits, but for everyday life, for business, for email checking, map questing, all of that, communication, social media, your business, education, all of that technology has taken over every aspect of our lives. And like Laura mentioned, this is not necessarily all bad. It's again how we use technology and not let technology use us. And that's kind of the danger, what we're seeing with the dawning age of transhumanism and AI, that we lose ourselves in it. We lose our creativity, our relationships, ourselves, and eventually even our soul connection to the divine, our spiritual essence. And there's a big danger in that. But as Laura mentioned as well, we're definitely not anti-technology. We're using technology right now, recording this podcast and streaming it out to all you guys to listen to. So again, we don't want to move this into like an anti-technology rant, because that's not what it's about. It's about what consciousness is using this technology.
Which is interesting, because going to that other extreme of being totally anti-technology is also an Aquarian thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's a couple different Aquarians I've met in my life, and some of them are like super ahead of the curve with technology, very comfortable with it. And then the other side is very anti, which is very interesting. They're like, I'm just going to go to the woods and leave me alone. And this world is too crazy, kind of playing the exile kind of archetype of that side. So we're going to see that actually. We're going to see both. We're going to see people, using technology creatively. We're going to see people having technology use them. And we're also going to see people totally be like, F technology, I'm getting rid of everything.
Yeah, which in itself, I feel, is a matrix trap as well. The kind of archaic revival and just rejecting technology completely. Yeah, the way I saw how all of a sudden the AI technology got into the mindset of the consensus of the mainstream, especially in social media, was a few months ago with the so-called Lensa AI app. And I noticed on social media all over the place, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, people changing their real life profile pic for an AI generated version of themselves. And it was really fascinating to see this happen, because so many people jumped on this trend. And it's all fun and games, but the issue with that is, again, that AI tends to distort how we not only view ourselves, but view others. So it kind of creates a certain artificial sense of beauty or digitized, computerized version of ourselves and others. And that has tremendous effects on our interpersonal relationships, as social media already has in a negative way, because we are relating to people via the screen, via texting, messaging, and not really in real life anymore. And this artificial relating is just being enhanced via talking to AI versions of others or yourself.
Yeah.
And there are deeper aspects as well. I've seen a lot of people, you can take on like this AI version identity, like you take a spiritual identity based on spiritual bypassing, or, a trauma response, or just basic vanity narcissism. And it becomes, people don't realize how it affects virtually all aspects of their life, especially interpersonal relationships and your own self-worth and insights within yourself and psycho-spiritual health, so to speak. So that kind of started it all. And that was the inspiration for my article. But since then, it has even taken more extreme levels, I would say.
Yeah, and one thing just to add on to what the topic of the Lensa app, I've actually noticed people still using that as a profile pic on, like, it's a common profile pic now to use on your social media, to use the AI version. It's already become part of the culture, you know. People are using it. I even saw on Twitter the other day, this guy got totally slammed, but he had an AI profile photo and he was talking smack about how a woman looked, basically. And then many people were like, dude, you're using an AI photo of yourself, you know? But to add on to that, it's actually like, I'm shocked at how much this has sped up in the past couple weeks. Like, I can see Pluto and Aquarius already happening, and it's going to just happen on hyperspeed. So another thing that just came out was this new filter on TikTok called the bold glamour filter. So TikTok basically started incorporating AI into their filters. And what they did is they introduced, and they're not admitting to this, but it's been highly suspected, they basically introduced a filter that used an AI technology called machine learning. And the machine learning maps out the user's face and alters their appearance so that it never malfunctions no matter how much the person moves. And it's also programmed from a data set of a bunch of different women and men so that it's like basically morphing your face into the face of like a data set of women who have a similar face structure. So that's how it looks. And you can go to my Instagram. I made a video about that recently. And the main thing with this is we already have a lot of women who use huge filters on their face. And I'm not against filters. I think that you can really, you know, add artistic value to a photo by using bringing out certain colors, you know, doing different styles. I kind of like how they make them look like old film. I'm not against filters. I want to be really clear with that. But when you use a filter to alter your appearance to the point where other people don't know what you look like, you actually have a distorted view of what you look like, that can create body dysmorphia in women. And I can only imagine, as someone who grew up most of my life basically not thinking that I was attractive, even if other people said I was, imagine now women or young women or teenagers or even kids growing up with these filters and having a totally distorted view of what they actually look like because of using these filters regularly. And I think this is kind of the danger that we're going to see and already seen. And then eventually, like you wrote in your article, and as we've talked about, this is going to lead people to actually seeking Botox, fillers, and surgeries to look like the AI version of themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I saw it's really fascinating because you gave an example of this AI app on TikTok, right? You made a video about it, how it looks, and as opposed to how you look in real life. And what's fascinating to note is not just, excuse me, it was not just like you put makeup on, because I'm also not against makeup. Again, it can enhance something if the makeup artist is an artistry. But there's also extreme levels of makeup or these filters like that filter, it literally changed the anatomy of your face.
Yeah.
So you literally do not look like this in real life, not just makeup-wise, but anatomically speaking.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, somebody made a good comment. It looks like a very generic version of like Kim Kardashian, you know what I mean? Like this, everybody looks the same. And the AI version is like this very artificial, synthetic beauty and no originality anymore.
Because they're probably programming these women into their data set. And this is like this standard of beauty we have is based off of Kim Kardashian, Megan Fox. You know, you see a lot of women doing their makeup to look like that. So imagine they get to see Megan Fox's face morphed onto their face. And they're like, oh my God, imagine if I look like this.
Yeah, and both of them already have lots of cosmetic surgery to begin with.
Yeah. So let's talk about maybe defining transhumanism and how it relates to AI.
Yeah, so the transhumanism agenda is in works. It ties totally into Pluto and Aquarius. Everything is going more it ties into technocracy and all of that. Well, in the nutshell, in one word, transhumanism agenda is literally merging man with machine, right? And even as Klaus Schwab said in one of his books, the guy from the Great Reset in the Fourth Industrial Revolution, you know, they want to create more synthetic human beings and get rid of carbon-based human beings. I mean, that's partly what he literally said, right? So A great definition, I just want to look that up real quick because there's a great definition about transhumanism in a nutshell from Lisa Renee, and I quoted her in the article as well. And I'm just going to read her definition because it encapsulates really everything. So, transhumanism is an international, cultural, and intellectual movement with an eventual goal of fundamentally transforming the human condition by making available technologies that greatly enhance human intellectual, physical, and psychological capacities. Many transhumanists believe in the compatibility between the human mind and computer hardware, with the implication that human consciousness can be transferred to alternative media known as mind uploading. Post-humans, the result of applied transhumanist technologies, could be completely synthetic artificial intelligence or a symbiosis of human and artificial intelligence or uploaded consciousness, or the result of making profound technological augmentations to biological human. Transhumanism is a school of thought that seeks to guide us towards a post-human condition. Essentially, this is about creating artificially intelligent hybrids or cyborgs to replace the organic spiritual consciousness of humans. Some examples are redesigning the human organism using advanced nanotechnology or radical technological enhancements. Some of the proposed biological enhancements are using some combination of technologies such as genetic engineering, psychopharmacology, life extension therapies, neural interfaces, brain mapping, wearable or implanted computers, and entrainment of cognitive techniques. So most of these options, as she continues writing, are designed to disconnect the human soul from the human body and prepare the body to be used as a shell for a new host. Effectively, this is integrating technological and pharmaceutical hybridization to damage human DNA as preparation for body snatching. So the last sentence, this is really the deeper occult agenda of transhumanism, which we go deeper in the second hour. But this is a great definition of what transhumanism is all about, of literally merging man with machine. And I also want to add, again, what we mentioned at the beginning about we're not anti-technology. We don't want to let technology use us. And it's really about what we are really called to, especially in regards to psycho-spiritual work, is activating our own inner quote-unquote technology, right? Our connection to God, to essence, to the divine, our immense potential for creativity, because that's or beauty that we have inherently have.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to activate and connect to in order to counteract the negative effects of transhumanism and AI.
And all of this, interestingly, relates to the Aquarius archetype, the disassociation, the alien technology, the fracturing where something else enters, this can all be part of that. And that can happen through, number one, it can happen just through trauma, and being disassociated. Trauma is a disconnection from your true self at the end of the day. You can call it the event that happened to you, but events that are traumatic to one person are not traumatic to another person. But any moment where we disconnect from our heart, our true self, and we enter into our heads, or we enter into different worlds or whatever, we disassociate. This is related to that Aquarius archetype. And I think the thing that I am most concerned about is that we've been through a really intense past 3 years. It was intense for me, and I'm a very Plutonian person, and I like intensity, I guess you could say. Not that I like intensity, but I'm comfortable with it. I've been through a lot of really intense things in life, and I think it was intense. And I see already that people have not done a lot of work to ground, to come back to themselves after the past 3 years. I'm talking about the average consensus person. I imagine that people listening to this podcast are interested in that. That's why they're listening. But this fracturing that happened creates a huge opening when Pluto enters Aquarius for other forces to mass incarnate, basically, or just take over bodies. I think that's what's potentially going to happen. And so we're going to see this influence take over social media, the internet, and it's going to come very fast. Like we're at March 6th right now. Pluto will enter into Aquarius on March 23rd.
You're going to stay there for a bit and then goes back and stay there eventually for the next 20 years. So
Exactly.
We're starting the start of a 20-year cycle with the transhumanism AI takeover in that sense. But what you just said reminded me of something exactly for the past 3 years, what happened, with the medical tyranny, all of that, what happened, the craziness of the past 3 years, it has traumatized millions of people, billions of people, I would even say, without them knowing they're traumatized. We've seen this in our work, relationships, ruptures, friendships, family, people lost their job, economy, all of that created, like we call it, a matrix installment program. So people have been, in that sense, I feel, purposely traumatized.
Yes.
To disconnect them from the inner guidance, to make them more authoritarian followers, let alone the jab and all of that, the effects of that. We have talked about that. But you're correct, it creates a perfect condition for this AI takeover, because what kind of people even are really attracted to this, beauty dysmorphia AI technology? It's a trauma response too, based on the I'm not good enough program, I'm not sexy enough, I feel lonely, I'm not pretty enough, or I can do this, put this filter on to get more attention, and all of that. It's the perfect entry point for people to accept this technology and then change their appearance or change their whole being and give away their power, their God-given power.
Because they're disconnected from self and they're identified with the material world. Like, if you realize the deeper truth, that true beauty is actually an essence. It comes from within. You can do whatever you want to your face, to your makeup, and you can look, externally beautiful. But unless you actually have the beauty emanating from the love in your heart, are you going to be considered beautiful by everyone? A lot of people can sense, there's a great field that I love, which is called interpersonal neurobiology, which is how our nervous systems respond to each other. If you're insecure and terrified, but you have this beautiful face, people will not pick up your beauty. They're going to pick up your terror. So you can put whatever mask you want on. It will not, it will only deceive people who are mostly interested in you for your mask.
Exactly. And the problem with that as well is becoming normalized. And we talked about this dark age of the Kali Yuga we're in right now. It's about normalizing pathologies. And unfortunately, obviously, as we know, the people, or like the population that's been targeted the most, are the children, the young people who are like getting very young age into these, into social media, into these filters. They're being influenced by celebrity influencers who use these filters and all of that.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. We didn't need to get this again, but this, the epidemic of cosmetic surgeries, Botox and fillers with people even younger in their 20s is already increasing.
Yeah.
So that's really the danger of what we are facing right now. And you're right, it ties into this, in the negative side of Aquarius, like the detached coldness, the, computerized images, everything lacking soul and emotion and embodiment.
Yeah. So basically, let's talk a little bit about Pluto and Aquarius. And FYI, you will be hearing a lot about this over the next 20 years from us, because not only is it our personal, like, I actually have in the house systems, the Aquarius Leo axis active in my own chart. So does Bernhard as well. So this is something that we know really intimately in our own lives, and also is going to be a major collective theme. Like, the shift from Capricorn into Aquarius is pretty big for us to be going collectively. And essentially, okay, so as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, March 23rd, 2023 to June 11th, 2023 is when it's going to take its first dip into Aquarius. So that's why I'm really excited for the next Embodied Soul Awakening, because we're going to be dealing with a whole different collective energy. It's going to be fascinating. And then it's going to go retrograde from middle of June until January 2024, where it's going to stay there until September 1st, 2024, but then it's going to go retrograde one last time at the end of 2024, and then it's going to enter into Aquarius for good at the end of November 19th, 2024.
Until 2043.
Until 2043, yeah. So this is going to be one of the longer Pluto transits. So Pluto doesn't always spend the same amount of time in a sign. It spends anywhere, I think it's from 12 to 20 years. Even the Scorpio transit was actually fairly short compared to this one. Yep.
Can I just add to that? Because for some people not into astrology, and they say, why do they get into astrology again? It's really important. I posted there was recently, in this day and age, it's really important to zoom out, right? And understand the bigger cycles of the evolution of consciousness, the cycles of the ages, right? The bigger picture, soul evolution, and all of that in the context of forces that, or even divine will that's beyond our control. In evolutionary astrology, especially that what Laura practices and the insights from the outer planets give tremendous insights into the bigger cycles. I mean,
Yes.
And there's truth in it. I mean, if you look at Pluto and Capricorn, what happened, was
2008.
Since 2008 here, it's like everything is archetypal Pluto and Capricorn. So it's important to understand the themes of Pluto and Aquarius and how it affects us collectively and individually to navigate the times ahead.
Exactly.
So-
Okay, so let's talk about some of the overall themes of Aquarius that we're going to be working with. This is going to be about finding your own uniqueness, finding your own individuality. It's also collectively going to show us major technological innovations, new inventions. Some of those will be amazing, actually. Some of these our minds will be truly blown by what's going to happen. It is also on a more esoteric level about the individuation process through deconditioning from the past. So that's the Saturn and Uranus co-rulers, traditional and modern ruler of Aquarius, working with each other. We are also going to see a lot of people seeking like-minded people, peers, friends. We're going to see all sorts of alternative subcultures that go outside the norms rising. With that, we're probably going to see a bunch of new age cults, fringe societies, secret societies, all things Aquarius. Another thing which is very interesting to just reflect upon is that the Uranus archetype side of the Aquarius archetype rules long-term memories and past lives. So think of that what you will, but I think that people who are able to tune into the higher mind may be able to even get downloads of previous lifetimes coming at them. Like you're going to have to be able to work with the level of mind, which is not your thinking Gemini mind, the information gathering mind, but the higher nonlinear mind. And it's also about our ideals for the future. So we want to think about, where do we want humanity to go? And then the Leo side of the polarity point wants us to asks us, how can we link our own creative self-expression to the vision of where we want humanity to go? So that's the overall themes. And then the shadow side is pretty crazy. So we get, as we mentioned earlier, we get this, cold-heartedness, this disassociation, this detachment. Detachment can be healthy, but detachment can also be a part of disassociation. Mass psychological shock and trauma, fragmentation, splitting, extremism. So you see this already: extreme opinions, extreme religious movements, extreme political movements. Extremism is totally Aquarius archetype. Yeah.
So it ties into, basically, we will see the rise of real cults.
Yes.
Even new age cults or more dogmatic religious cults. We talked about this, even with the rise of this very medieval revival of dogmatic Christianity. We've talked about this in a recent podcast.
Yeah.
So all kinds of different cults based on belief, right?
Exactly. Which is interesting that you said based on belief, because Aquarius sextiles Sagittarius. So these energies work together. Disassociation, radicalism, insanity, mental illness, group or mass trauma, anarchy, rebellion, feeling alienated or making yourself alienated from society because you don't fit into the current culture. So I just want to speak on that point. So people who are ahead of their time are alienated by the culture. They're different from the culture. They're not actually meant to fit into the culture. They're meant to bring a new wave in from the future. So I can fall into this trap myself, like, oh, no one understands me. Where's my tribe? I don't belong to the current culture. But you have to keep in mind that feeling of alienation, that feeling of difference is supposed to eventually lead you into the individuation process, becoming whole, and connect you to your true self.
Yeah, that's I think a very important point. I wanted to say something to that, because we see a lot, again, because of the past few years, the splitting of humanity, relationship ruptures, friends, family, people feel alone. They cannot relate to anybody anymore. Some people are becoming more aware of what's happening in the world. Their friends and family don't see what they see. So this alienation, loneliness is a big theme. Absolutely, I cannot relate. So people want to be around like-minded people, right? And all of that. However, that in itself, like you just said, you can get stuck in a trauma response and then project externally. Oh, nobody sees me, nobody understands me, I'm so alone, and blame the outside world for not fitting in to you, right? Instead of embracing this process and understanding that's an internal process to come more in alignment with who you truly are and find your deeper connection within.
Yes.
And that will then create the outside connection and relationships in a new level.
Exactly. So the deconditioning process is supposed to lead you eventually, the deconditioning event will lead you to separate from society for a while. It's just part of it. If you're in the masses, if you're watching Netflix, listening to mainstream music all the time, totally plugged into like what's going on in the consensus, you're apt to get swept over by those waves until you find the true self, basically. So you're separating from the current culture so that you can find who you are outside of the culture. And it is really about realizing the spark of the divine within you and not looking for external saviors anymore, whether that savior is a community, whether that savior is some sort of church or, organized religion. Like, this is the deeper esoteric meaning of Aquarius. So this is about realizing our true self through the individuation process, through deconditioning from the current culture, so we can find a way that we can contribute to society using our creative self-expression, Leo, in a unique way. And when we have mass trauma or mass disassociation, it basically cuts off that whole process, and it leads to cold-heartedness, being too detached. Fear of being different is a big one. Like, I'm just going to pretend I actually fit in because I'm terrified of what would happen if I stood out as different from the group, which is Aquarius wound, Or another way it actually shows up is being overly protective of your individuality. So this is like more like people who are just like, oh, just because it's popular doesn't mean it's good kind of attitude. Or like, oh, this guy was on a big TV show, then he's part of the Matrix. Like, this is kind of
like also splitting this black and white thinking.
It relates to splitting in black and white thinking, but it's coming from being protective of your individuality. Like, the kind of person who's like, I can't watch a movie like Avatar because it's a big Hollywood movie, and I'm too different.
I can see myself in that.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Exactly. I'm too different. I'm too unique. This is part of the Aquarius archetype, of being overly protective to your individuality, where you won't even be part of the world anymore.
That's a great point, because and that's part of the Aquarius archetype as well, because I'm an Aquarius. I have North Node, also Sun Aquarius, so I can definitely relate to that. But in all humility, I can also see it as a knee-jerk reaction and my own ego self-importance or superiority coming in.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not going to be there. This is just mainstream bullshit, whatever.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm not going to, this guy is just like here and there. Oh, I'm not going to, extreme black and white thinking, and you project, because it's like almost the inner child wounded in the sense, as a compensation, creating this superior ego that I'm too good for the world.
Yes.
So, fuck the world. Yeah. I'm better than anybody else. Who are you? I'm not going to fit in.
Exactly.
That's the shadow side, right?
Exactly.
I can totally own this. I can see this partly myself, especially in the past.
Yeah.
Having said that, Avatar was an amazing movie. So come on, carry on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what we got to watch out for. It can create this like arrogance, this snobbishness. And this, I would argue, is actually coming from being overly protective of your individuality. Because once you anchor, the true self within you, the God image within you, then who gives a shit? Like, seriously, It's just like,
you see also God everywhere.
I personally wouldn't watch Netflix these days just because it always starts with like a black, disabled, trans, like Muslim, they, them. And that's just not my thing. I'm more into like fantasy, but also I wouldn't, if someone was like, okay, watch this Netflix movie, it's really good. I wouldn't be like, oh, screw Netflix. They're just blah, blah, blah. I would just be like, oh, okay, so this movie's on Netflix. I'll check it out or whatever, So we want to just watch out for that. Yeah. And so essentially the medicine for the Aquarius archetype is getting back to the heart. So this is Leo archetype. And I know this sounds really just cliche and cheesy, but the heart is basically the place of not just love, but life force, creative energy, creative self-expression. When you're connected to your heart, you're connected to your passion in life. You're connected to your ability to love, to relate to other people. Yeah. You're connected to your vulnerability, your humanity. You're going to say something?
And I was going to say this also before we go into the axis of the Leo archetype, because to tie this into transhumanism and the takeover, you can see the shadow side of Aquarius, how this perfectly lays out the trap for transhumanism.
Yes.
Right? Just want to be clear about that. Even reminding me also of ChatGPT, right? That's also become very popular.
Yeah.
Out there was this program's AI program. You can ask us any questions. It can write, literally, students have written their own work, paperwork, essays and whatnot, passing tests. So you can ask us anything, but when you read it through, like, it's almost too clinically perfect. It's like this cold, calculated responses that are true, but the soul, the essence is missing. The creative impulse is missing.
Yes.
But it's clinical. Right?
Exactly.
And I think all the shadow sides of Aquarius you just mentioned for the Pluto and Aquarius perfectly exemplify how the dark side of transhumanism ties in and can tempt humans, people, to get taken over by that, to accept the AI god of transhumanism rather than their own essence and creativity. And I think what the polarity point of Leo, to going back to a heart out true creativity, is basically the solution to counteract the transhumanism takeover.
Exactly. Like the shadow side of the Leo archetype, which is always in play when you have Aquarius there, is the desperate need for approval, validation, applause, narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
And so tie this narcissism and desperate need with approval with being just detached and checked out, and you're going to jump on every single AI trend because it's going to feed your narcissism. It's going to feed your desire for approval. So if you're not a creative person, if you don't consider yourself to be an attractive person, then what an easy thing to get an AI program to write articles for you to make you look more attractive. Like, this is all a combination of the narcissism and the detachment of both sides of this polarity, basically. So we really do need to get back into the heart. We need to get back into our vulnerability, our humanity. It is about finding what you find joy in life and healing from the trauma. I can't stress this enough, that if you feel constantly dysregulated or low energy or checked out or disassociated and you're procrastinating and you're having trouble focusing, a lot of this is sign of being extremely dysregulated and in freeze state. So if that's you, think about what you can do to work on healing yourself and whatever the stress that has happened to you in your life for the past few years. So you can reconnect to this passion for life. You can reconnect to your ability to love and to feel joy. And so we want to really be a creator with technology. So don't do it in a way to avoid your creative expression or to deny your creative expression, but can we use technology with the heart as well? Can we use technology to put our ideas in action while also infusing our own heart and soul into the creations of it? So we want to think about how we can basically use our own creativity with the incoming technology, link them together, and find a way that we can use it with our own heart and soul infused into it, instead of this cold, detached way where we're just seeking likes, approval, validation. Like, this is where it's already heading.
Yeah. Excellent. Can we just talk about this topic a little bit? Because it is a big topic, creativity, and ties into relationships as well, in the sense. So we have the danger with transhumanism AI, especially the negative or shadow aspects of the Leo archetype or the Aquarius archetype, the erosion of human creativity and relationships, and let it take over by AI and transhumanism, right? And also finding the balance, like you said, we're not, there's a fine line between like even using technology and AI to enhance creativity, your skills, your tools, but still be unique and original in that, as opposed to let AI do everything for you.
Yeah.
They're literally like, they're also already advertising certain AI programs that can write the whole websites, articles for you, do your whole marketing, posts for you. Like, you're not even involved anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's a dangling carrot for people who are out of touch with their essence, out of touch with their daimon, their creative spirit, which we'll talk about as well, out of touch with the divine, out of touch with themselves, really, and very insecure and traumatized, having no originality, but they want to have success, or somehow taking the dangling carrot of just these possibilities and path of least resistance, not needing to do any work on their own, that get easily hooked into that. Also short-term success, right? To have something built right away, because true creativity and originality in all aspects of life, be it your business or your art, whatever it may be, to create something amazing takes time. You got to pay your dues. You got to develop your skills and all of that.
Yeah.
And that is really the essence of, I think, also the archetypal Leo essence of being creative.
And besides skills, I already see people interacting with the world in a very AI way, to be honest, meaning like they're very detached. They're very kind of in their head, and they're just kind of copying and emulating what other people are doing. They're not bringing their own creative soul essence into it, because as we'll talk about in the second hour, there is a spark. You can call it your higher self. Carl Jung called it the daimon. This creative spirit can lead you into realms of creative genius that are exactly expressive of your own soul. But unless we actually do the work to anchor this connection, we're just going to be caught in this world of like mimicry, just copying, mimicking what other people are doing. And we're doing this from a cold, detached, aloof state.
Yeah. I wanted, on that note, can I share a quote, because it ties into something really fascinating. I posted this quote in my article on the Occult trap of transhumanism as well. It's by this guy, Alex Becker. He's an interesting fella because he's actually in this industry of AI. He has developed AI software many years ago that's kind of called Hyros AI ad tracking, right? And you probably see his work because many people, meaning companies, businesses, use it. So when you search something in Google, boom, boom, any product, you research whatever, all of a sudden you see ads coming for that on your social media account. Kind of, he's the reason for that with his AI ad tracking thing. But he's posted something fascinating on Facebook a few months ago about the dangers of AI, speaking out about it. So he wrote, I don't deny the incredible 1000x potential of all this AI stuff is giving us, but I also think that this shit is soulless black magic. Humans, our brains, and our societal organization are not capable of existing with it if it keeps up much longer. The supply of anything good, art, information, interaction, sex, is about to explode to a level so high that everything, in turn, also becomes cheap and empty. Man, for example, already sitting in the houses, endlessly creating lewd pictures, each one improving and releasing more dopamine each time they click, generate from AI XXX content, online has already cheapened human relationships. Basically, you can make your own porn with this AI software.
Yeah.
This completely removes other humans from the equation and breaks down the human experience supposed to work. A man can now sit in his house and just generate over and over and be shown his wildest, most specific fantasies with each press of generating, effortlessly giving him another unique hit. So he talks on and on, but basically what he's saying that it's losing its humanity. It's just a tipping start point. He writes, this is too big for a hack of humans to have, and it ruins the entire experience of our lives by cheapening everything we have to offer other humans. It's going to turn us into something that isn't human and can't appreciate human limits.
So for people who want to get this quote, by the way, it's in Bernhard's article, which he can link in the show notes as well.
Yeah, it's on my website. But I just want to, it's fascinating because this guy is actually in the business of, has an AI software, just, ad tracking, nothing fancy, basic.
Yeah.
Helps people, businesses, absolutely. But he also sees the danger of the ruining of creativity, and everything can be just done so cheaply, and there's no limitations, or ruining relationships, because especially porn and XXX content is really, really high on the high end nowadays, and it's just going to exponentially rise.
That's already that's actually the terrifying part, especially if you're a woman, is that this is easily going to become the norm. People are just going to be able to take your photo and make, I saw this, are you going to talk about the woman? Yeah. There's this famous influencer on, I think she's on Twitch, who had an AI porn made of herself and posted a video of her sobbing and breaking down about it. And then people were reposting and making fun of her. So again, this cold-heartedness of the Aquarius archetype and the total lack of just making fun of her. You see, the problem, this is why, the issue with AI is we almost don't have the humanity. We almost don't have the heart to handle it responsibly. A majority of people will use it in a very cold, detached way. But I have to say, the positive side is it's never been more essential, and it's never been more of a commodity for you to develop your own creativity, for you to develop your own individuality and engage in the individuation process. The highest aspect of Pluto and Aquarius is going to give a mass amount of people, because Pluto rules masses, the opportunity for individuation. So this is a process of becoming whole, becoming who we really are and fulfilling the unique purpose that we have for our lives. And how do you engage in the individuation process? Well, you first learn to withdraw your projections towards the outer world. You stop projecting your shadow, and you stop projecting your light on the outer world, and you start to do this inward journey and to realize that a lot of your projections are basically overlays of your own psyche onto the external world. Another way it also shows up is in opposite sex relationships. Is like a lot of men and women are still engaging in massive amounts of projections in relationships. I can't tell you, the thing that the spiritual and the red pill community have in common right now is both of them are on this crazy trip about conscious men need to be like this, masculine men need to be like this, feminine women need to be like this. They're both pointing the finger at the other gender and coming with a laundry list of what is actually an animus projection, an inner feminine, inner masculine projection, and being like, men need to be like this. And a lot of these people are single and looking for a relationship.
No, that's true. Can I just add on that real quick? Because it ties in this whole high polarity teaching, like women, like I need my leading man who holds me and this and that, and is my provider, and this is how a manly man needs to be. And the other side, you have this revival of like, I need a traditional woman who's in the kitchen, has
virgin,
bears once exactly as a virgin, has a low, what they call the body count, and all of a sudden, and all these projections externalizing of how the other sex or gender should be.
Yes.
And none of them work on their basic shit, excuse my French, their own shadows, their own childhood wounding, their own animus integration, and all of that.
Yes, exactly.
So it's fascinating to observe that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think this is actually part of this extremism that we're going to see. We're going to see extremism, mass fragmentation, splitting. When you split off a part of your consciousness, it's prone to projection. So to the extent that a man splits off his connection with his soul, he is going to project what he thinks his anima should be onto the outer world. But deep inside, if you have negative perceptions towards men or woman, it's a reflection of something going on within yourself. And not only that, I'm sorry, but if you're trying to date and find a new person and you enter a relationship, I need the man to be like this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this. You're already coming in with a bad energy. Like a little reframe is to just be like, I appreciate this in men. I appreciate men who have purpose. I appreciate men who have vision. I appreciate women who are nurturing. I appreciate women who are whatever it is that floats your boat. But many of them are coming in with these shoulds, and men should be like this, and women should be like this. And this is their actually own kind of tyrannical super ego creating these judgments based on their negative past relationships, I'm sorry, with the opposite sex, and then creating this almost fantasy of what a man or woman should be like. And I guarantee you, if someone like with this kind of laundry list of like what men or women should be like entered into a relationship and they had all of those things, they would still find something wrong because it's all coming from projection.
They weren't able to receive it.
They wouldn't be able to take it in because it's not coming from a healthy place.
So, excellent. So, we have still a lot to talk about, but that was very insightful. So, really understanding that, thank you for sharing, honey, also about the archetypes of Aquarius Leo axis, the positive aspects of Aquarius, the shadow side, the positive aspects of Leo, and the shadow side, to be aware of that within ourselves, because that's the way out of the transhumanism occult trap. Because you're right, what I see now, and what I also made that point in my article and video, is that technology has so much advanced that our soul evolution, our process of embodiment hasn't caught up. And you're also right when you said that a lot of people are so out of touch with themselves, so wounded and traumatized, they don't know how to use this technology responsibly.
Yeah.
Right? And we also have to understand that, and we go deep into that in the second hour, that the big proponents behind transhumanism, AI, big tech, all the big players are themselves soulless beings, disembodied atheists in a sense, who don't recognize a spiritual reality, who want to play God, right? Who want to really, override the divine, so to speak. They're the anti-divine forces. So we need to be really aware of it. So the way out on the very basic level is to rebirth or own your own creativity, your own essence, your own originality, your true uniqueness.
Yeah.
The Aquarius spirit, but also in service of humanity, and heal your wounds so you can really connect to your heart. Because like the great aspect, positive aspects of Leo, I have some good Leo friends. They are like full of passion of life. They love other human beings. They're extremely creative, but they're not caught in the shadow side of narcissism and wounding, but they're truly connected to the heart. And we can only connect to the heart if we remove everything that's in the way of it. And that's where, again, it goes deep into our shadow work, trauma work, all of that. So we're not being taken over by the transhumanism AI trap.
Yeah, and to really understand, there's nothing more beautiful than your own unique creative expression, your own individuality. Like, it's easy to be a carbon copy of someone else in the world and just to imitate them, but you're literally sacrificing your power the moment that you're trying to be like someone else. And this is a process of individuation that I think many of us have the opportunity to go on, is to find out what is unique about me. What am I good at? What's my own unique soul expression? And how can I contribute that to humanity and my relationships in a very loving, open way?
Exactly. Very beautifully said. And yes, with that being said, let's close off here. We're going to go way deeper now into the spiritual consequences, the end game, right, of from a hyperdimensional matrix perspective, how this ties into transhumanism, AI. I want to dive deep into that, how this ties into the jab as well. And we've written articles about it. And really what the way out of it is, and in terms of soul embodiment and the evolution of consciousness. But I also want to mention, by the way, sorry, that this came to my mind, what you shared right now towards the end. It's ironic. We see AI imitating humans, right? But we see also humans, because of their disconnection from self, their own creativity, their own unique expression, imitating, plagiarizing, and copying others.
Yes.
Right? So again, it's part of the individuation process is find your unique source to your creative spirit diamond, which we also go now deeper in the second hour. And with that being said, if you're not a member yet, want access to the second hour, go to my website, veilofreality.com. And for our 14-week group coaching program, find out more at thetimeoftransition.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll be right back.